Once upon a time, when I was a corporate automation controls engineer, I had the luxury of working for a great boss. He started out on the OT side, and over his career, he became very knowledgeable of how IT works. He lived the IT OT convergence before it was a thing. He had gone to battle already for me, and he had gained access to multiple data sources plant floor, manufacturing execution systems, ERP, and so on. His goal was data democratization. I was given a tool in which I could do real time investigation on data from multiple different sources. The benefit being, I, a non analyst PLC programmer, could easily make dashboards and visualizations by taking data from multiple data sources. I didn't know it at the time, but I was doing some game changing analytics. So much so, I was creating reports that directly conflicted with the BI team. I unintentionally discredited a lot of their efforts in one clean swoop. One thing was for sure, though, at the end of the day, someone was right. While I never was told I was right, I was also never told I was wrong either. Hi, I'm Gray Juba, jack of all trades, master of none, electrical engineer by education, systems integrator, Siemens Solutions partner, corporate automation controls engineer, software solutions engineer, and OT cybersecurity currently at Nozomi Networks. So, what is digital transformation? Well, it's really kind of convoluted, but really it boils down to the essence of getting data and value out of the data and increasing efficiency and profitability. So, what is this outcome we're all striving for? Well, it starts with data sources, data manipulation, context, investigation, dashboards, and reporting. But the strategy often breaks here because we have this goal that this is our outcome, so we must start here. But we need to take a step back real quick and see where we are currently. So, where we are currently is we collect data sources directly from the operations that store said information. This can be, let's say, historians, ERP, manufacturing execution systems, and so forth. And we export them out and use a tool like Excel to collect that information and create analysis and figure out what happened yesterday. We then we want to do something like data manipulation and context and pass that off to a team that might be a BI team or so forth for them to create dashboards and reports. But the problem is that transformation of investigation information from Excel to the data manipulation and context. This is where things start breaking down because when we pass that report over, the data from which those BI teams are working from are bad data because the contextual information that has been created over years is incorrect. And when I say incorrect, it may not necessarily be incorrect, but it may not be perfect. And I use the analogy of the telephone game that we all used to play as kids. You whisper something in the kid's ear, and then it goes down the line as they whisper things across their ears until they get to the end, and the name is entirely different. It loses that fidelity, that context that we all look for in what we build out in our dashboards and reports. So, the current reality, problems happen on the floor. Investigation starts with static data, Excel. Reports are generated days after the incident. Dashboards and reports are created by the BI team who interprets the subject matter experts' reports in Excel. And oftentimes it's an endless loop of communication between the BI team and be in the subject matter experts to the point that they kind of give up because at the end of the day, if I'm giving a report that comes from those dashboarding and visualization tools that doesn't match exactly what I expect it to mean, I'm not going to trust it because I have to stand up in front of my plant manager and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what happened. And they ask questions like, well, can you dive out into that a little bit more? Where did that data come from? And that's when the process engineers lose their own credibility because they don't have the answers because it was created for them. And that's the key. They need to be the ones that create their own investigation reports. So, the ideal digital transformation strategy should look something like this. We should collect data from data sources and do real time investigation. With this real time investigation, we can see those data sources directly from where they come from. So, therefore, once we understand the key metrics that are important for that investigation, we bring that into the data manipulation and context. We bring that into the unified namespace with the understanding of the sources and analysis that were created already with that deep domain expertise coming from those subject matter experts. From there, we can start doing the dashboards and reporting, but oftentimes we skip over taking the valuable information from that investigation phase directly into the solution of our long term outcome. So, operation investigation strategy. How are you going to empower one person to own the journey from discovery to dashboard? You have to use real time data and minimize the handoffs. So, what? Why? We believe engineers should be able to solve their own problems. How? Through real time investigation and validation. What? A streamlined, easy to use, safe investigation platform. And what I mean by safe is you can't delete the data and it doesn't affect operations when you work with the data. That is key. So let's kind of go over who and what and why. So these data sources, they come from things like process systems, think historians, manufacturing execution systems, quality shift schedule, work order systems, and so forth. And who owns these data points? The database admins and the automation controls engineers. And why does this exist? Because it's the source of data. This is where the PLC, OPC, and so forth, all these different things is where the data is generated. Now, the investigation is where it's always interesting. Downtime investigation, you're looking to figure out what is going on, off quality, efficiency. And if you're familiar with OEE, that's what makes those up. So, who's going to be doing this? Automation engineers, process engineers, subject matter experts, maybe it's a quality engineer. Why? Because they need all the data. And who's it for? It's for themselves. It's not for anybody else at this point. From there, this is where we get into the data manipulation and context, the UNS enrichment, the, again, context enrichment. And who's this for? The automation engineers and the process engineers, the quality engineers, and the subject matter experts. They know the data. And who's it for? The upstream teams at this point. This is where we start getting to that handoff piece. Now, dashboards are built around availability, quality, and performance. And who's this for? Process engineers and business intelligence team. Why? For alerting and for management teams. They need to know if there's something they should be paying attention to. And this takes the next step further for reporting, results in historic efficiency, forecasting. And this is for also still the process engineers, the BI team, and upper management because this is for the overall production status. So let's talk about OEE again. We can get into the argument of whether or not it's a valid metric or not, but there's one thing for sure. OEE is the first signal, not your last metric. OEE indicates that you should do something, not be an indicator of information after the fact. You need it in real time, and that is possible because I've seen it. So think about it as a cascading. You're going to have company OE, plant OE, production line OE, and section OE that drills down from that point that will allow you to start the investigation. So, digital transformation outcomes. Don't put the cart before the horse. We will get there eventually. And what I mean by that, start with data sources to investigation and so forth. Then one day we will get to data manipulation, then investigation. But until then, do it the way it's currently already being done. So, what OEE needs is a partner. OEE without investigation is noise. OEE with OIS becomes the compass for operation. So, stop solving yesterday's problems tomorrow. Adopt OIS in your organization, empower organizations with tools and trust to act. Use OEE, don't calculate it. Investigation through OEE is how we solve problems. Is this something you're struggling with? please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can discuss further.